Hello, everyone. I'm Sky Dela Cruz. I'm a player for Project Artemis. And for today's video, I'm going to be talking about Gholdengo. Uh, Gholdengo definitely been a very interesting sort of unsung hero of the late Prismatic Evolutions format, with a top four placement at UIC and a second place finish at the recent Vancouver Regionals. Um, Gholdengo in the prismatic format, as you may know, focuses around this energy search pro card, which allows you to search for any number of basic energy cards of different types, reveal them, and put them into your hand. So you'll notice in this deck list we're playing every single type of basic energy possible. Sorry, fairy energy. You rotated a few years ago, so you don't get to participate in this deck. Although, arguably, that would be pretty cool. Um, Generally, Gholdengo variants used to involve things like Palkia or Togekiss to try and cheat out extra prize cards, but people have discovered in this format that, honestly, a straightforward approach of just KO your opponent's active Pokemon and maybe reduce damage with Monkey Dory tends to be the most effective strategy. So you run a thick 4/4 Gholdengo line just to ensure that you can always use the coin bonus ability and you can always attack with Make It Rain. Um, of course, your goal with the deck is to have a really big hand size, even after Iono. You're drawing with just one Gholdengo in your active, two Gholdengo on your bench, which I would say is pretty average. You're drawing four additional cards, two more with Radiant Greninja, three more with Pheasantipity. Um, so you're always going to maintain a pretty big hand size with the deck, which is going to give you access to really big, explosive uses of Make It Rain in combination with superior energy retrieval. Um, just to more deeply review the Pokemon a bit, we of course have Radiant Greninja and Pheasantipity, essential draw cards both early and late game. Um, Greninja, of course, going to get you into the pieces that you need before you have all of your Gholdengos online. And Pheasantipity just gives you the extra kick to maintain longevity in the game. Monkey Dory is very good in this build. It allows you to, on occasion, cheat out a prize card, but mostly heal your Gholdengos and make your Make It Rain math a little bit easier. So, for example, on a Dragapult or Gardevoir EX, um, if they aren't knocking out your Gholdengos in one hit, if they're leaving damage in play, you can move it off with Adrenabrain, reduce the amount of energy you need to discard by one, which, especially because especially because 7 energy is such a hard number to hit, can be really, really relevant. You do also have access to Mind Bend in any tight scenario because you do play the one of Psychic Energy. So Monkey Dory definitely a must include in the current version of Gholdengo. We also have, and this is a recent addition from the second place Vancouver Regionals list, the Strike It Rich Gholdengo from Surging Sparks. Strike It Rich, pretty interesting attack, much like the attacks that are usually named Raid in like previous formats. That just says when you evolve this Pokemon from Gimmighoul, it does 90 more damage off of a base 30. This Gholdengo is pretty interesting because one thing that you might notice this deck lacks is a really effective single prize attacker. I mean, sure, there's Monkey Dory, but 60 and an easily KOable range is not particularly something that you'd love to be doing. This just attacks for one metal or most played energy in the deck. It can KO most basic Pokemon, some evolved in stage ones like Kirlia or Drakloak. Um, and that allows you to have a really effective one prize option. You can pair that with cards like Roxanne to set your opponent's prize map unevenly while still attacking with that extra prize that you're giving up. Um, and essentially forcing this on your opponent as a knockout that is 130 is not an ideal number in a lot of situations. That's out of range of two Phantom Dives. Um, that's actually out of range of Gholdengo itself, which is pretty important because when you're in the mirror, if you're the first person to attack with Baby Gholdengo, you're forcing your opponent to either have Boss plus their own Baby Dango attack or attack with their Gholdengo EX, which in the mirror match, typically you want to go two prize cards, two prize cards, two prize cards. So the player who puts down the first Gholdengo usually isn't winning the game because your opponent can just respond with their own Gholdengo, take two, you've only taken one, now you're behind. So what Gholdengo from Surging Sparks does is allows you to have access to basically just a way to say, okay, I have the advantage in this mirror. If you don't have the exact perfect response here, I should just run away with this game. It also has the niche attack Surfback, which can be okay against things like block or things with Cornerstone Ask, Ogre Pawn, where this Gholdengo can just go back into the deck, get you another resource. It does take 3 turns to set up, so it's not amazing, but it's definitely not the worst option to have. Some lists might even run like a 1/1 Scizor line to serve a similar purpose. Scizor, of course, being the one with Punishing Scissors. Um, that does more damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon in play that has an ability. This is good into Cloth, which is not a particularly good matchup. They hit really effective damage, and the item lock on Badoo can be incredibly punishing. So, no pun intended, Scizor can punish the amount of abilities that they have in play. Um, but that does require playing a Scyther. So the Gholdengo from Searching Sparks is nice because it basically just affords you a free slot in your deck list. In terms of trainers, we play a very consistent 3 Arv and 3 Cypher Maniac, just to ensure that you are always drawing into your superior energy retrievals or whatever pieces you may need with your Gholdengo. Cypher, of course, good because coin bonus says draw two, essentially says draw two. So Cypher Maniac essentially says put 2 cards on the top of your deck, immediately draw them. You're guaranteed to see them. So you can strategize based on what you need for a turn, doing things like grabbing Gholdengos to sort of chain Gholdengos off of each other. You can like Cypher for a Dango plus another card, coin bonus for one off your bench, coin bonus for another one, draw the card you want, and then you have 3 Dangos in play, and you still get to draw 2 cards. Um, Throughout the video, I will sort of show off like how to determine what exactly are the best cards to grab off Cypher. Sometimes it's a little less intuitive than you might think, especially when paired with a card like Pokestop, where you can guarantee 2 cards with Cypher as well. Um, Arvin, a lot more straightforward, just grabs an item, and our one tool is TM Evolution for going second. Um, a lot of people will say to go first with this deck. I generally prefer to go second just to have a few more setup turns. Um, but in some matchups, it is really important to go first. So the one evolution, it's not super necessary. Even in games where you go second and prize it, you can still get away without having it. But it is nice to be able to search something off of Arvin, although usually you will just be grabbing that superior energy retrieval or energy search pro, depending on the point in the game at which you're using it. Play 2 boss, 1 Turo, 1 Roxanne, just as general necessary utility. Of course, boss, you don't always want to be taking 1 prize knockouts. Dango has the potential to take 2 prize knockouts at almost any point in the game, so why not have the ability to bring up your opponent's Pokemon? Some lists even play 2 Turo here, just because in the Gardevoir and Dragapult matchups, Turo can be incredibly relevant. Just being able to pick up a Dango, get it out of harm's way, move damage with Monkey Dory, and effectively, like when Dragapult, if you're running essentially no copies of Turo, Dragapult can just go 200 and then 6 with Phantom Dive onto a bench Gholdengo, and then next turn go boss, knock out both of them. And then if they're playing a build like the the top 4 non-Dusknoir Dragapult list, they can just go Blood Moon, knock out your Pheasantipity pretty easily. And so that's not really something you like to be seeing. So you can go Turo plus Monkey, and they won't even be able to KO a full Dango on the next turn. Roxanne, as I explained, pairs pretty well with our baby Gholdengo over here. Disruption cards are a little bit tough to play in Gholdengo specifically because the only disruption cards in format are cards that either aren't particularly beneficial or require you to like put cards from your hand back into your deck. That reduces your large hand size, reduces your access to superiors. So typically what you want to do is pair Roxanne with the baby Dango, force your opponent down to 1 prize, or lead with baby Dango early and then Roxanne. And if you still have 4 superior left in deck, you should be relatively fine to find a superior or even eSearch Pro if you haven't been able to use that yet. Um, we have 4 Poffin, 2 Nest Ball, 2 Ultra Ball, just as our basic Pokemon search consistency. Of course, you want 4 Poffin because you want 3 to 4 Gimmighoul in play at any given time. Poffin also searches for Spiritomb, good tech for the Lugia matchup. as well as the cloth matchup turns off Oranguru V, Luminion V. So this can be a pretty effective card. So being able to have the maximum amount of search possible for those Pokemon with 70 HP or less is perfect. Nest Ball, of course, not every Pokemon is profitable. Your other three basics are not. Getting Radiant Greninja in play early, very important. So two Nest Ball, two Ultra Ball as a respectful amount. You run four Gholdengo, so you're probably going to draw into one. But two Ultra Ball just to help you search it out. Of course, some general consistency: one Vessel, two Pokegear, two Pokestop, switch for mobility, Force Appear, absolutely essential card in the list. Um, And then a Hisuian Heavy Ball, just to be a little safer on prizes. Lost Vacuum is very important in the Gardevoir matchup. If they go Drifloon or Screamtail with a Bravery Charm, you can just go Lost Vacuum, take an extra prize. It's nice as Stadium Bump, good against Bravery Charms. Sometimes you can really effectively disrupt a Dragon Ball player by Lost Vacuuming their Sparkling Crystal. Um, although that isn't always true. Usually the crystal is just like an extra for them because you should be knocking out their active anyway. There are specific board states where you can like vacuum the crystal, KO their Dragon Bolt that has energy on it if they committed their crystal early. So it can come up, but mostly that's just for stadium removal and the cardboard matchup. Energy wise, we run one of each energy, but we run three metal to be able to consistently find it, two dark, um, for a Monkey Dory, and then two water. Interestingly, another line that can occur in Mirror is attaching twice to your Radiant Greninja, and then attaching another energy and being able to actually use Moonlight Shuriken because you play two water in your deck. You prefer to have 12 energy in Dango, generally speaking. Um, Gives you more options to search off eSearch Pro. If your water's prized, you still have another water to search. So having the option open is always nice, always beneficial to just, if you have the space to give yourself more options, why not give yourself more options? So that covers the general explanation of the Gholdengo list pretty well. There are certain things that I'm bound to get into as situations arise uh, during my gameplay. So let's just go ahead and start up a game. We're going to go ahead and pick our old reliable heads. It did lose the lip, so our opponent will get to decide. The nice part about playing Gholdengo is that you don't really care which thing your opponent picks. Like, obviously, in some matchups, you would rather just, um, have, like, you'd rather be able to pick just so that you can, like, safely counteract whatever your opponent is trying to do. But really, because of the evolution, you don't Superman going second, or first. Actually, a pretty good going first hand. We'll have Gimmighoul plus Poffin, and then we'll be able to use Cypher next turn if we draw. Looks like we're hitting. I'm not sure. Opponent with a pretty innocuous setup. Maybe something like. Hmm. Alright, so this is pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and grab our ghouls. We can see that we have Dango Monkey Dory Greninja. Our Spiritomb is prized. We have a boss prized. Looks like a superior prized. Yep. And then we know we have the Pokegear in hand. Looks like our Ultra Balls are in deck. And then in terms of energy, we did prize our psychic energy. We're gonna go ahead and burn this other Poffin. Probably grabbing the Ghoul. Yeah, all four Dangos are in deck, including our Strike and Rich Dango. Next turn, we sort of want to save the Ultra Ball for a Dango, and then we have both Pokestop and that Dango to combine with Cypher Maniac. So we're just gonna pass. Looks like our opponent is playing an interesting Snorlax build. Um, huh. So pretty regular setup from it. For the Snorlax deck, we're definitely not going to need Roxanne, and we're definitely not going to want Pheasantipede here. So uh, we're just going to cross check, make sure our Turo pad is in here. Yep, looks great. Um, hmm. All right, so we don't want Radiant Greninja around. I'm going to make an interesting choice here. We're going to coin bonus first. And then what I want to do here is I'm going to Cypher for, let's go with Monkey Dory plus eSearch Pro. So in the Snorlax matchup, the big priority is actually sort of just like this, getting rid of your basic Pokemon. I discarded Pheasantipede. I'm now discarding Monkey Dory. Um, just to be able to be absolutely certain that I will not be forced to put a basic Pokemon in play that I would rather not have. So now our only problematic basic Pokemon is Radiant Greninja, which we will get to discard next turn with Cypher plus Pokestop. So actually setting up pretty nicely for ourselves here to be able to say, we only have attackers in play. How are you going to respond to this? We don't need to worry about Mimikyu as much because we have the Strike and Rich Gholdengo. So we should be in a relatively good spot. So our opponent is just going to Artisan. They've got a pretty slow setup going. Starting Pheasantipede as Lax is not great. That's a really basically free two prize cards for us. The nice part about Snorlax is that they're not going to challenge our hand much. That Feebas is pretty concerning. Could definitely turn into Milotic, um, which is not something that we really want to see. Milotic, of course, prevents Pokemon from your opponent's board being put into your hand. That'll turn off our Turo. So we're definitely going to want to find that sooner versus later, just to be able to pick up this fourth Gimmighoul. Not really something that super interests me to keep in play. They are going to go ahead and commit to this, bringing up this Gimmighoul, switching into it. So we're really going to want to try and accelerate how quickly we find the turret right now. Probably nest balling for Rotom. Yeah. So having this Spiritomb prized, not my favorite thing in the world. We can't turn off the Rotom here. Um, Maybe we could have last turn. I do still think that Pokestopping away the Monkey Dorio is more correct. Reduces our risks. Uh, because I did notice that our opponent didn't necessarily put a Rotom in play. So, responding to this Snorlax, I'm probably going to want to go. Let's Pokegear first. We see an Arven. We're going to go ahead and coin this for one. Okay, so we do have the stretcher for that energy. What I am going to do here is we're going to evolve up this Dango. I want to Cypher for Heavy Ball for the Spiritomb. And likely a Turo for next turn, just because we know we have the Arven in hand. Yeah, I'm going to say we want the Turo for next turn. Essentially force them to hit Milotic here. We know we have Knockout, so these two cards are fine. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and coin bonus for two, guarantee those two cards. Alright, we're going to Hisuian Heavy Ball for Spiritomb. Spiritomb, totally fine card to put down in the Lax matchup. It has the Fade Out attack, so it's not really a trap target. Basically, it gives them an extra turn because you're forced to Fade Out. But the Net positive is turning off Rotom, basically essential in this matchup. And we're just going to make it rain for knockout on the Sunrise. Probably hoping to draw the boss or the superior off the prizes here. Metal Energy, also quite good. That means that we're not going to be force stuck into a Dango board where we only have two attackable Dangos. This deck only plays three metal, so you won't be able to consistently attack with all four Dangos. They're going to commit to a Luxray here. I don't particularly like this from them. We should be able to just go take a knockout. They are playing Pidgeot. That does explain the DTEs. I'm a little curious about the multiple copies of Irida, though. Um, but yeah, they're playing Pidgeot with a copy of Snorlax in the deck. They are probably going to try and find something like Rescue Board or Switch, although they are already done their Switch. They are just going to go ahead and Accompanying Flute, try and hit my Radiant Greninja. They did not. They do get to see my Striker Rich Gholdengo, though, knowing that Mimikyu is not going to be an option. Just trying to think if there's anything I really want to accomplish next turn other than just ensuring that I take a knockout here. They are going to whiff the Flute again. Looks like they're playing a more Snorlax-focused Pidgeot build. Good thing that we discarded our Monkey Tori and our Pheasantipity. That just means that there's literally only one Flute target in a 23 card deck. Flute shuffles the deck every time, so there's no guarantees that anything is going to be that we're going to find anything other than like that we're going to find anything other than nothing at all. They're going to force up the Spiritomb. We can retreat this, so I'm not particularly upset about it. I am going to use my coin bonuses first. I don't want to use the Turo here, and I would rather not waste a superior. So if you can just draw into the water energy, that would be nice. I am going to avoid evolving one of these Dangos. Hmm. I think I should still have Vessel left in deck. Yes. So what we're going to do is we're just going to Arven for Earth and Vessel plus Evo. Uh, Something I might do is actually Ultra Roll away this Dango plus an Evo, grab Radiant Greninja, and guarantee that that Radiant Greninja is going to stay in our discard pile with our Vessel here. Safely grab the water. I'm just going to retreat the Spiritomb and use Make It Rain for 50. So playing as Snorlax actually, playing as control, especially when they're drawing like this, actually gives me an opportunity to talk a little bit more about some general matchup theory. Um, Generally, boards like this are pretty rare. You'll usually have one of these three basics in play, especially against like Dragapult, Gardevoir, Miraidon, matchups that you're really consistently going to see. Something like Miraidon, you're probably not going to want to have Fez in play early, just because that's an easier two prizes for them to take rather than the 4 energy off of Iron Hands. We do see our opponents finally getting a Pidgeot into play. That does make me a little nervous. We do have Superior plus Turo in hand, and they do have this Sob Wellspun Ogerpon. It is pretty fortunate that we do have a Switch in our deck. That just means that we're going to be able to pretty easily handle things like Sob Lock, unless they hit a very powerful Misfortune Sisters here. Although that would have to be honestly one of the best board states I've maybe ever seen. Just a thought. Um, they are interestingly going to counter catcher up my Gholdengo here. I'm not sure why they went for that play. They're probably going to Thornton into Milotic here. They're Thorntoning into Snorlax. Okay. Hmm. Interesting. But yes, they are going to Fang Snipe. And almost certainly going to discard the Turo here. But we do have access to another Dango EX with some Metal Energy, so we're keeping our board versatile. I don't foresee that we will easily end up losing this game. Just going to thin the heavy wall here. They did actually go for the superior, um, which we're only down one of now. We do have one of the prize cards, but I'm honestly not too nervous. I am going to use our first coin bonus. Just a Poffin, nothing special. We do need two cards here, so I am going to Cipher to guarantee Superior plus Night Stretcher, which is going to get us the knockout on this Luxray. Next turn, we're going to have access to at least one Superior, if not two. And then what I would like to do is, I actually think to guarantee the Superior next turn, I want this Dango in play. We're going to draw another card. It's going to be an Arven, so we're just going to Superior away Arven Poffin. Grab any four energy, because we're just going to be discarding them all. So let's grab these four, Stretcher for one more, and then go ahead and take a 250 knockout on this Luxray. Alright. So returning to a little bit of theory, while we just sort of see them play out this turn. And really just, you can really see the power of Gholdengo being able to draw whatever cards it wants every turn, maintain a very large hand size if it needs to. Not necessarily a mandatory thing. I've been able to maintain a pretty low hand size with Dango so far. Some Pidgeot control lists actually have access to Psychic Energy, so staying out of range of something like Mind Ruler prevents you from just being put into very awkward spots. We do notice they are playing Radiant Serena though, so that particular line doesn't really matter. But some Gardevoir lists do actually play Mind Ruler, so it's important to be mindful of things like your hand size, knowing that you can't really go into a massive hand size if you're fearing a card that will punish you for your hand size. Of course, opponents can run like your Roxanne will keep your hand thin, and um, like just the fact that you're discarding so many cards with Ultra Roll and Superior, you're discarding the energies out of your hand, that it'll often look like you have a big hand size even when you really don't. My opponent doesn't have access to the Feebas. They kind of wasted their Thornton on that Snorlax, but it looks like they might just be going for Blood Moon attack spam line. I actually don't hate this. We are going to definitely try and draw. Otherwise, we are one superior out of our one in deck, even away from what we want to do here. They did not knock out our Gholdengo, so we will have access to the full draw power of this deck. Basically, what I'm looking for is just that superior, because we don't have enough resources to knock out the Blood Moon itself. That we just want the superior energy retrieval in tandem with the boss. I believe we are. Let me Pokey here. Get the boss out of the deck. And then with this 2-card draw, with Pokestop, we're going to get pretty close to being guaranteed the superior here. So I am just going to go ahead and thin the last of my deck. We did not hit the superior, but we did hit Palpad. I do like Palpad here. Um, So we are down our Striker Rich Dango. That's unfortunate. But what I am just going to do here is I'm going to Turo this Gimmighoul and Palpad to make sure that I am safe from any potential issues with Misfortune Sisters, although that actually will not save me, so I'm not particularly happy about not drawing into that here. But we are just going to go ahead and pass our turn. They're stuck with the Blood Moon in the active right now. They know that for whatever reason I'm not using my Superior. So if I were the control player here, I would assume there's a deck, Misfortune Sisters, and just say, good game. Like, you definitely don't have the resources for this anymore. Um, they're definitely contemplating a play. Um, hmm. Yeah, I have to assume if I had the jail player in this position, I mean, just a pass like ends up being play. But we can just Pokestop, guarantee draw the Superior. Yep, there it is. And then we'll just discard any two cards, pick up 4 energy from our discard pile, and just go boss onto. Let's pick the Pheasant Dippity, just because may as well take the full 250. Go ahead and discard 5 energy, and that's the game. Yeah, a little scary with that superior prized, but that last turn from them seemed a little unwise. Just attacking with the Blood Moon. You have a pretty safe just go in with some other option. I do generally like it, but I would have probably preferred if they'd run it to Pidgeot. Um, let's try and get one more game in, just to maybe show off the power against something a little more meta, something a little more, well, interesting in terms of beatability, in terms of how you're playing the matchup. Uh, Matchup play control, honestly, relatively straightforward. Mm. I'm going to hit something like Dragapult or Gardevoir, really show off the fact that despite previous meta concerns, that in a post UIC world, that Gholdengo really has good matchups into both of those decks. Looks like we're taking another mole. I do like the art on this. Just think it's a little silly. Gholdengo, a very fun-loving Pokemon, made up of 1,000 little gimme gold coins. Looks like we are going to be going second here. So our Arvin is going to be pretty nice. Um, that's a Cloth Dog. Hmm. Well, given that they're starting Latios and choosing first, I'm expecting it to be Cloth. That they're just running through their opener and trying to figure out how to properly hit the donk on me here. Oh, interesting. They might be playing a Terror Box build then. I see a Latios in my opponent going first, and I just get very intimidated. Um, and reasonably so. I mean, that matchup is very, very bad. But it looks like we might be playing against something Evolutions. Um, Also not something I love to see. Instant attacks for 260 with Flareon. I don't love that, but it should be fine. Should be fine. Just gonna poppin', check our deck. One Gholdengo prized. Our Radiant Greninja is not prized. Our Pheasantipity is. Looks like we have Superior prized. We prize a Nestful. Did prize. Oh, energy. These are always the toughest prize checks for me. There's nothing obvious. We do see Turo though. So one Dango, one Turo, um, and one Nestful. My general advice for prize checking is to check your most important resources, stuff like basic Pokemon, energy, and then like your essential trainers for the game. Some decks like Lost Box, obviously you need to check the entire deck, but with Gholdengo, most of the time you'll be fine just sort of checking for prizes every now and then, instead of every single turn. Interestingly, they are playing Sylveon EX. Well, this thing is weak to metal, so we will be able to knock out with just three. Um, my opponent should definitely not be going for Angelite here. As fun of an attack as that is. You just pop into weak thing. I'll do this. Just coin bonus. Draw 2 cards. And quick stop and see what we get. Not discarding Cipher. Always discard the Cipher. Okay. We're just gonna conceal cards. I'm not really sure why my opponent went for Angelite there. Uh, I don't perceive that as being particularly advisable. Just a general note, like if your opponent is playing a deck in which they can just get the attack even with the basic Pokemon they put in play, probably not the best idea to go for an attack that shuffles back their Pokemon. Um, but honestly, they're not really putting out a ton of offensive presence. So I'm probably just going to pass instead of wasting my time on knocking out something like a Hoot. Of course, you can only use Angelite once every 2 turns. So our Gimmigholes will get to stay in play. We'll be able to set a pretty wide Gholdengo board. Um, we will be doing 100 less damage, but we still only need to discard. Um, we will need to discard 6 energy instead of 5. Well, instead of 4. Um, but not too bad, not too bad. All right, our phone's going very wide at the area 0. They're probably just going to Crispin to probably the Eevee. Yeah. Likely trying to go in with a Flareon here. I don't love the fact that we're going down 2 prizes. But they did, yeah, they were just going to go for the Magical Charm here. I didn't really anticipate that they were going for anything particularly special. We do know our 4th Dango is prized, so we don't want to bench the Gleegle here. We're just going to coin bonus for 2. Drop the Pokegear. That'll determine our next play. We got Cipher. Great. Cipher for E-Search Pro, I believe. Yeah. 1, 2, 3 of our energy. We play 8 energy in the deck, so we're going to be like at 5. Excellent. Um, so we're gonna Ultra Ball, getting rid of this Gimmighoul and the Buddy Witty Poffin. Grab a Dango, and with this Dango, we're gonna do 2 things at once. So we're gonna Cipher for another Dango first, and then our E-Search Pro second. So our first coin bonus is gonna draw us a Dango, and then we can use the draw from our next Dango to guarantee that we draw the E-Search Pro, and also have 3 Gholdengos in play at the same time. Which I personally am a pretty big fan of. Just being able to do that feels very effective, very good. Um, I can safely conceal cards away one of these metals, so just optimizing our setup here. Do I want Monkey Dory in play? I am kind of anticipating. Well, they can't Angelite, so I think the answer to that is yes. Just thin it out of the deck, worst case. And then we have 6 energy in hand, so we'll be doing 100 less. Now, let me just check if the 100 less is before or after weakness or resistance. Before applying weakness or resistance. So that's totally neutral. We need to discard 3. So this is going to be 250. So 150 knockout. Yep. All right. We are up in the prize trade. We're going to be forced to discard down for 0. We're just going to see how they respond here. They do have access to 2 Noctiles. Ooh, interesting choice, playing the Cyrano card. Search for 3x. Yep, definitely the 3 I would grab there. Flareon, EV, Pheasantipity. Makes total sense. An EV for next turn to evolve into Flareon, and a Fez. Um, card's pretty interesting, reminiscent of Adventurer's Discovery, especially in things like Arctura Umbreon back in the day. Um, I like the card as an inclusion in here. You're playing an FEXs that it could be relevant, especially because I do see the Pikachu and the Wellspring. A lot of energy coming from my opponent. But Flareon is pretty able to set good things up. So things like going Flareon for 260 into a Dango into a Pikachu, forcing them to find boss around your Pikachu. But yeah, stuff like that. Cipher play is really what Gholdengo is all about. Being able to pick whatever 2 cards you want from your deck. Sometimes you only need 1, and so you can splurge on another Dango. Um, and just draw extra cards. And eventually you're just chaining enough Dangos together. 3 Dangos on board. You're just drawing your whole deck like turn after turn. Um, Obviously not as powerful as things like Refinement, where you also get the option to discard. Because you're only drawing 1 card at a time. But certainly nothing to be scoffed at. Very good at taking 2/2/2s. Pretty reminiscent of Qianpao in that regard. A lot of people call this deck Metal Qianpao for that reason. Just discard a bunch of energy, KO anything in the game. Oof. Excellent top deck. I am gonna coin bonus for 1, just to see what we get. Um, we do want this energy, so I'm not actually going to... I might not even Cypher here. We have guaranteed knockout on this EV. So what I may want to invest in doing is just coin bonusing for 2. We're going to go ahead and Stretcher for a Gimme Ghoul. Just have access to another Gholdengo next turn because we know that our Pheasantipity is prized. And instead of burning this Cipher here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to Superior, discarding Gholdengo and Vacuum. Grab any 3 energy and a metal. And we're going to go ahead and boss this Eevee. Eevee, of course, being weak to fighting, so no way to get extra damage down here, but we are just going to go ahead and make it rain. Discarding 4, and limiting our opponent's options for next turn, while also saving us a Superior. We could have, of course, Ciphered for an energy because we have the Night Stretcher in hand, but I don't personally really like that play. I would just rather save my resources. We did draw Fez Heavy Wall. Nice. My Heavy Wall was prized. So, Fez Nifty is also in our deck. We're going to be able to coin bonus for 2 plus Fez. We still actually have 3 Superior left because none are prized. So even though they're going to go for Iono off of this Noctowl here, I feel pretty secure knowing that I should be able to draw out of it with relative effectiveness. That even just an Arven will allow me to get concealed cards off of Superior, plus the metal energy I need to attack. Then I'll just be a Superior away from knocking out the Flareon to win the game. Smartly, I am going to go for me with a Fez. We do have Superior plus Boss. Absolutely excellent, because Flareon requires Flareon requires 6 energy. Mew only requires 4. So as long as we draw into 1 extra out to energy here, we should just have this game in the bag. I'm gonna go ahead and set up for Cornelian, just to be able to knock out Fez if I were to like push something and say you can't KO this. Um, Also, this Flareon is their last attacker for the game. May as well just invest the energy in it. You have Latios in place if you can retreat anything. We did find Arvin, so Arvin should be able to, or we can just draw into it. So we're gonna Superior away Arvin Boss, grab 4 energy, and then we only need 6 energy, so we can actually afford to discard Grass plus Pokegear. Grab 3 energy and a metal, and we're gonna hit them with almost the full rainbow here. Grass energy staying out of the party. Um, we're just gonna use Make It Rain for 300 damage. And take our 2 prizes. Very nice, very nice. Some nice, clean, consistent Gholdengo gameplay, just showing off the power of the coin bonus ability, showing off just how much potential this deck has um, in different scenarios. Very big fan of it, especially for the upcoming Stockholm regionals. Gholdengo's meta positioning honestly hasn't changed very much since Vancouver. It's still sort of the deck that pretty much catch-alls the entire format unless they specifically tech around it. A lot of techs are somewhat ineffective, although there are things like the Defiance Bandit Gardevoir that a lot of Project Artemis player that the 3 Project Artemis players played to Vancouver regionals, including myself. Um, Things like I've heard of Defiance Band Blood Moon and Maridon. So it's definitely a deck that's on people's radar, but countering it can definitely be pretty awkward. So Gholdengo, definitely still a good play as we sunset on the Prismatic Evolutions format. Um, if you enjoyed this video, of course, you can find us on our socials. Um, and you can find me individually at Skyline01, and you can find us all at Project Artemis Pokemon, or Project Artemis PKMN. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something about the Gholdengo deck, and have a good one.